right. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy. I'm waving even though nobody can see me. um, I am the public services librarian at the Peterborough Town Library, and one of my jobs is that I do all of our social media posting. So I know some of you took the Instagram class that I did earlier this year, and so now we're doing Facebook. So hopefully, we're going to kind of go over some basics and then get a little more in depth in things. But yes, like Mary said, ask any questions. She'll pass them along to me, and hopefully we'll cover everything you all want to know. Great. So Facebook. Basically what Facebook is a social networking site that is an easy way to connect and share with family and friends. It originally was designed for college students, and has morphed into being available to everyone. And you can access it from a computer or a mobile device, available from all of the places where you would download such a thing onto your mobile device, like the App Store for Apple and Google Play. And all accounts are public to an extent, with many privacy options. But if you're on Facebook, someone can basically search and at least find if you are on Facebook or not. So creating an account is pretty simple. You basically need to be at least 13 years old, and you can create the account either online or on your computer or on your phone. You just go to facebook.com, enter your information, and sign up. You do need to have either an email address or a mobile phone number in order to create an account, preferably both, but they're not both necessary, but it's pretty simple. And when you do log into Facebook, this is a screenshot of where you end up. So all of my images that come from our Peterborough Town Library profile, sort of. So they come from this fictional account called Peter T. Lib, who runs all of our Facebook pages and groups and whatnot. And we'll talk all about that soon. But basically, this is the home page. When you first log into Facebook, this is where you end up. It includes your news feed, which is kind of in the center of the page, which is scrollable. And the news feed is just the constantly updating lists of posts from your friends, or groups that you're in, or pages that you follow. And also ads and all sorts of other things that populate in there, suggestions. And we're going to go over some of these menus. So there are 3 kind of general menus on the home page. We'll start on the left. It has links to your profile page. Right now there's a link to COVID-19 information. You can click to your friends, to Messenger, to events, and more on this arrow. Our page also has shortcuts featured because we have pages that are managed by this profile. So those show up here too. So it's shortcuts to our 2 pages for the Library and 1833 Society, and then some groups that we are a part of. And then the top menu in the middle has the link to this screen, the little house, is the home screen link. And then again, another link to your friends, link to Facebook Watch, which is where you can see videos live or previously recorded that have been posted on Facebook. And then a link to Facebook Marketplace. And the final link on the right is to groups.
So Amy, there's
Yes.
a question in the chat about where the news feed is located. And I wasn't sure whether you'd covered that because I was doing something else.
Yeah, so this is the news feed, basically. This is the top. So the home page is your news feed. So if you were to scroll down on this is just a screenshot, so I can't do that right now. But if you were to scroll down on this page, this middle section would scroll and you would see all the recent posts right here. And we'll, at the end, I'll go, live to our Facebook and can show how things really work through. So you're right here. We're right here on the, the news feed. And then let's see, this last menu on the right, it's kind of nice that Facebook, they kind of like to put the same options in many places. So I think that helps you find things more quickly, like how friends are in both the left menu and the top menu. You can get to your profile page from a couple different spots. But so this right menu, the top little options here are again your profile page. The plus sign is where you can create a post or many other things, which we'll talk about next. And then there's also another link to Messenger, and then the little bell is your notifications. So you can click on that and see if anybody's said anything. The last option is your account, and that's what's open right now. And so this shows you all your links to all your options, including privacy. And their help page is actually really great. I used it a lot to get good wording for this class, to describe all their different things. So I'll show you guys that later too. And then another thing to point out here, how it says switch to classic Facebook. Recently, they've like redesigned Facebook again. So this is the new Facebook. I'm not sure how much longer this switch to classic Facebook option will be there. But so if things look a little different on your Facebook, it could be because you're still using the classic view versus this newer layout, which is just a little more user-friendly, I think. So I think the most fun and important thing about Facebook is creating a post. And you can do that from a couple different spots. Right on your homepage, the main place where you can do it is right there in the middle, where it says what's on your mind. And you can literally type into that box or click to start a live video, add a photo, choose a feeling or activity, all of those things right from here. And when you do click there, this is what it looks like. So it pops open this box and gives you a space to type. You can choose some different backgrounds. If you're just doing a short update, which is kind of fun, you can quickly add to your post here with a video or upload a photo from your computer. And the one thing to really notice here is that right next to your icon and your name, it says public. And that's a little drop-down menu where you can adjust your privacy for this specific post that you're making. So that's kind of great. If you wanted to just post something to your friends group, the people that follow you on Facebook, only they would be able to see it. So if somebody else just happened upon your Facebook page that you're not friends with, they would not be able to see that post. But if you post something public, if anybody goes to your Facebook page, they'll be able to read it. So that's good to keep in mind. The other way you can create a post is from the right-hand menu here, that little plus sign. And so if you click on that, this is the menu that opens. And these are all the options of things that you can do from here. So the first is to create a post, but then you can also add to your story, which are these, it's kind of like Facebook's Snapchat or Instagram, which is funny because Facebook and Instagram are the same company now. But so basically it's at the top of the middle of the screen here where it says create a story. That's what these are. They're like little short videos or photo collages or whatever you'd like that you can put together that will only be visible for 24 hours after you post them. You can also add a life event if you get married or divorced or have a baby or whatever you can think of. There's lots of options there. Leave a job, start a job. And this is where you can also create a page or a group. And we'll talk about both of those things more in a little bit. Or make an event or a marketplace listing, which I've never done, but my mom does all the time. She sells lots of things on Marketplace. Or start a fundraiser. So there are so many things you can do on Facebook, and I'll try to talk about all of them. But if there's one specific thing that you really want to know about, let me know and I'll make sure I get to it. Let's see. So another thing that you can do on Facebook is share a post. So let's say you're scrolling down your news feed and you see, oh, the River Center is doing this fun thing. I want to share it. At the bottom of their post, you'll see this little share icon. And if you click on it, oh, I'm sorry, skipped ahead. These are all the options that show up. So if you choose share now, it's, as it says, it's public. So it would be a public post, and it would literally just post this post from the River Center onto your news feed. If you choose write a post, you can say something about the post first and then share it. And that's also where you could adjust your privacy settings on the post if you were to share it. And you can also send it in Messenger, which would directly send it to a person or group of people. You could share it to a group that you're a part of, or share it on a page if you manage a page, or you can share it on a friend's timeline. And the important thing to know about sharing a post is that depending on the privacy settings of the post, the person's post that you're sharing, you may or may not be able to share it. So because the River Center's posts are public, anybody can share them. But if your best friend had a baby and was posting pictures just to their friends, you probably would not be able to share that post, or you would only be able to share it to people who were part of that original audience. So that's a little confusing. So if you have any questions about it, but that's a basic kind of rundown of sharing a post.
So Amy, there is a
Yes.
question in the chat.
Mhm.
Why do you share on a timeline?
So this isn't a great example, this River Center post, but it was kind of a generic thing that was up when I took a screenshot. But basically, like, I'll do it for the library a lot. Like if for example, if Avenue A was having a program that I wanted to more people to know about, a really easy way to do that is to take their post and share it to the Peterborough Town Library page. So then people know the information is coming from that source, and where to go, if they have questions, or when they click through on the shared post, it will link back to Avenue A's website or whoever's, or not website, Facebook page. So I feel like that's a good reason as an organization to share that way. On a personal level, I think people probably share more like meme types of things, just like things that they think are cute or just want to show the world as well. But it's really, I mean, Facebook is funny. There's no like rules about how you use it. So, I think it just depends on what your end goal is.
So you have to be tactical.
Yeah. And I, especially with posting for the library, I try to, make sure that the information's coming from the right place, that sort of thing.
Okay, so in chat, we have a couple of questions about Marketplace. Are you going to will you have a chance to do that at the end of
Sure, we can look at that.
I will save those. There is a question about the timeline. Is there a specific place when you share on a timeline?
I guess I'm not. Is there a way to reword that question?
Yeah, I think what she's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that where does it fall on the timeline? And it's simply chronological, is my understanding.
Yeah, more or less. There's some like algorithm that Facebook and Instagram use, so you don't always see everything, which is frustrating. I think the pages or people that you interact with more on Facebook, you end up seeing more of their posts and vice versa. But in theory, it's all kind of chronological, especially if you go, like if I was to share this post on a friend's timeline, so I basically post it on their Facebook page, it would show up, if I went then to their Facebook page, it would show up, yes, just in the order that I shared it and amongst whatever else they had shared that day or week.
Okay.
I hope
great, thanks.
That answers that question. All right, so now I'm going to talk about pages. So pages are how businesses, organizations, and sometimes public figures interact on Facebook. So like the Peterborough Town Library is a page on Facebook. So you can like or follow a page to get updates from them. And anybody with a Facebook account can create a page or help manage one. So for example, we had a person helping us with our social media for a little while. So we set her as a admin on our Facebook page so she could have certain permissions to post on the page for us without having full access to everything on the page. And I looked into this some because I knew we had some questions about administration of Facebook pages and all the different roles. And there's like 6 different roles that you can assign on a Facebook page, which I didn't even know that there were that many. And they all have so many different things that they can do that it's a lot. So I learned all of that from the Facebook help section. So
let me interrupt. Sorry, Amy. There's a question in the chat about what are some of the things that an editor of a page can do on a page? And could these be done if the person was not an editor but had a personal Facebook account?
I don't believe so. I think you would have to assign them as an editor if they were to, if you wanted them to to do that. There's all sorts of different permissions. And like I said, different page roles that you can assign.
So the best thing is to get people to go to the help page to sort of explore it.
Yeah, and I can show that because I was so surprised at all the information on there. I was like, oh, I could talk about that, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know enough about this to talk to that super well on my own.
And there is a question about how do people get assigned?
I think whoever owns or manages the page can assign whomever they'd like to be the different administrators or the different roles on the page.
Great.
And all those permissions can get edited or changed as needed as well. It's pretty simple, I believe. Obviously, we don't run our Facebook page that way because we have a fake account that runs it that we log into. So, but it certainly is a good way to do that, especially if you have many people who are helping to manage a page. And I think then you can also see like who's posted what or who's done what when you're logged in. So that's helpful as well.
Okay, thank you.
And then next is a little bit about groups, which are different from pages. Groups are more like a community where people can talk about a shared interest. And anyone can create a group for any topic, and they can be public and private. So basically, if you decide that you're running your high school class reunion, you could start a group for it. You can add people to your group, share it and post about it so people know about it. You could decide to make it public so that friends can invite other friends. And it's kind of a more similar to a page, but more like a group chat, sort of. Like anybody who's part of the group can post and people can comment and see the posts. So the library is a part of a couple different groups. Some are just library related where other libraries share what they've posted so you can see and borrow ideas. But then there's also, the Peterborough Area Cares for COVID group that's good to be a part of because then we know what's going on in the community. So yeah,
okay, great.
That's groups. And then events, I think, are fairly obvious as to what they are, but basically they're like a page or post that you can make about an event that usually would be in the real world. They're not always in the real world right now. Sometimes they are just virtual events, which is an option right now on the events page. So that's kind of cool when you're setting one up. But basically, they're just a great way to let people know about what you've got going on. And it can be a public event or a private event. If it's private, literally nobody knows about it unless you invite them. So you could plan a surprise party all on Facebook, and the person, as long as they don't get invited to it, wouldn't know about it or see anything posted about it. But the one thing to keep in mind if you are creating an event, that if it starts out as a private event, you cannot later change it to a public event. So that is an easy mistake to make when you're creating an event for the first time.
And what's the robustness of an event as opposed to, there's a question about why would you post as an event rather than just post on your timeline?
So we use events a lot for the library. We create them for our tech classes, for story times. So we use them a lot for recurring things. and which is kind of nice because then you can like set it and forget it. It's a place where you can get all of your information about the event, including, you can add a link to like an Eventbrite page or somewhere where you're selling tickets right through Facebook. It also kind of it's almost like creating its own like event page, so people can post on the event. They can say that they're going. So you could see if you have friends going to an event. That's kind of fun. And usually if someone is going to an event or says they're going, that might show up in your news feed, and then you go, oh, Eric's going to this cool thing I want to see. And so then you can click on the event page and learn more about it. So I think they're they work really great for us at the library, but I've used them to, like I said, like plan a party before, or you could set one up for Thanksgiving. You could take a poll in your events, or start a conversation about who's bringing what side dish and make sure nobody's bringing Brussels sprouts or whatever you don't like. I like Brussels sprouts, but no beets at my Thanksgiving.
There is also a question of whether you can post an event on a personal page.
Yes. Sure. I think so. Do you mean like anybody? So anybody can create an event. You could share an event too, if that's what you mean. Yes. Like you found a concert you want to go to, and you could share that event and say, hey, anybody want to go with me? That kind of thing. Or like, if you just love what the library is doing and want to share our Tech Tuesday events, go for it.
Please do.
Please do. Or our story walk, or our story times. So cool. I think that's kind of all the quick basic-y things about all the different parts of Facebook. I did want to briefly talk about one of the not so great things about Facebook is that anybody can post whatever they want. So it's not always true or real or correct information. So here are just some quick reminders about when you're reading things on Facebook to be aware of. And I think most of them are fairly straightforward. But just, before you go and share what Joe Schmo says about, all dogs having rabies, make sure that you look closely at the link, investigate the source before you start sharing incorrect information.
Okay. There was a question about photos, which doesn't relate exactly to fake news, but can someone, if you post a personal photo, can someone download it and use it?
Yes, I think so, for the most part. There may be, depending on your privacy settings, but all the photos that we post from the library are public, and I've absolutely gone in and downloaded them from our Facebook onto my computer to use for something else. So,
so yes, just be aware of that.
It is a thing, yes, to be aware of. But if you're posting the photo as part of a post that you've set your privacy settings to friends only, then only those friends can see it. But I would imagine that they could still download the photo. We could look and see if there are specific privacy settings, and that might be a great question for the Facebook help page.
Okay.
As well. But that's what I was going to talk about next anyway, was privacy.
Okay.
So we're back on the home screen again in that menu, all the way over to the right. If you click on settings and privacy, this is the little pop-up it gives you. And this is where you can manage all your basic privacy settings for the stuff you share on Facebook. And like I showed before, you can choose your audience right when you post. But let's see. On the next screen, I go through this a little more. So again, here's that same menu, and it brings you here. And if you click through to these different options, I did some little screenshots here of where it brings you to. So the privacy checkup you can use to review and adjust your settings and to make sure you're sharing with who you want. And so if you click through the privacy checkup, it brings you to these different options that it'll walk you through and help you update your privacy settings. And then if you click through to privacy shortcuts, you'll see this whole page of all these different privacy settings and account security settings and ad preferences and all those sorts of things. So those are important to take some time to check out. And basically it's kind of up to you as far as what you would like to post on Facebook, and then how strong your privacy settings is up to you too. And it's really just based on personal preference. So yeah.
Okay.
And then I think that's all I've got for the slideshow. So then we can move on to real Facebook. Sure.
There's a question about dark mode.
I think dark mode is literally just it will change it. So like if you're using Facebook at night and you want the screen to be darker, I think it'll switch it so that like the background is mostly a dark color.
Exactly. That happens on phones as well, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I was gonna say there's some other like there's one of our library apps that does that. I think it's Hoopla. Like it automatically switches to dark mode at night, which is nice because it helps, your eyes adjust.
Yep.
So yep, I know that sounds like really spooky, but it's not like it's not like Google Incognito mode or pay whatever that's called, where you can search and nobody knows what you're searching about.
So you're not going to the dark web?
No, okay. I don't know how to do that. So any other questions here before I go?
There's nothing
the Facebook page.
More in the chat unless I missed a question, and then if somebody has one, feel free to put it in the chat for me. Okay, so why don't you, while we're waiting, go.
Yeah, let me see. I was like, I think this will be easy. I think we just go to Facebook. I'm just going to refresh here. Everybody can still see this, right?
Yes.
Well, if it would load. This is fun. Here we go. All right. So this is Peter T. Lib's homepage. And looks pretty much like the screenshot that I took earlier, but you can see we've got some little alert things as to for notifications of things that have happened since I logged on last. But you can scroll, if you scroll down, here's our most recent, or the Peterborough Town Library's most recent post. And then here's an ad. And then posts from people that we follow, which is mostly groups. Although look, we're part of the Peterborough, New Hampshire online garage sale. So there's what they're up to. So basically The news feed's got a little bit of everything. So I'll scroll back up. So these are the stories that I was talking about. And you could click on one and it'll open it up onto a screen. You can watch it. They're only a few seconds long, and it'll automatically keep going to the next. And from here, you can also add to your story. But those are kind of fun. I don't really use them a lot, except I will post to them sometimes because Instagram will post to stories and then also post it to the Facebook stories occasionally. It's just another different way to interact. But I think for the most part, people are still just really posting on Facebook, and at least from what I've seen, stories aren't as big of a deal on Facebook. I'm gonna see what here's some notifications. People like our posts. The River Center posted a new video. We follow them. Here's all our things from earlier today. There's some updates on the groups that we're in and videos from Facebook Watch, places that we follow. And then it chooses random things that they think you'll like and get lost watching and include those here. That's fun. If you're looking to waste some time, Facebook Watch is the place to go. Anyway, and if you want to go back home, you can always click the home button. It'll bring you back. Let's see, we could look at, so this is Peter T. Lib's Facebook page. So this is what it looks like when somebody looks at their personal page. And he doesn't post a lot because usually we just post onto the library page, but this is what it would look like. And you can see all these, there's just so many things to do. One of the things I did want to show you was the great help and support page. So here's how you get to the help center. And there's popular topics. So we were talking about pages. You can click here and learn all about anything you want to know about pages, like creating and managing a page. Let's see, where do they have? Here we go. What are the different page roles and what can they do? And here is all of that information, which is a lot, which is why I don't know it off the top of my head. But so if that's what you're interested in learning about, here's all of the information that you need. Only the admin to the page can assign roles and change others' roles. And then here are the 6 different role options and all of the permissions that each of those roles grants them. And here it shows how to give someone a role on your page. So I'm really impressed with Facebook's help section. They really do talk about everything, and in a way that is not like too advanced for a regular person to understand. So I like that. And then let's see, people were asking about Marketplace. I'm gonna go back home and hold on. So you can get to Marketplace by clicking right here on the top of your home screen, and it immediately assigns you an area that you are looking in. So you can adjust that. You can change the location. You can change the radius. We'll leave it at that. And then it just kind of gives you, I think it probably learns what you've looked at previously. I don't think the library's really used this at all. So these are just some random offerings nearby, but you can search by categories over here on the left. I've used Facebook Marketplace to look for apartments before. There you go. That's pretty cool. Shows you a map and all the different listings available. And I think it's pretty easy to make a listing. You would just click here where it says create new listing, and it walks you through what type of thing you're interested in listing.
Amy, you may not know this because you don't use Marketplace, but there was a question about whether Facebook uses a third-party payer such as PayPal or Square.
You know, I don't know about that. And I'm just looking through here to see if that's any of the options. And of course, it's not letting me click through next because I haven't filled anything out.
Hi.
So I don't know.
So
Hi, do you know Tim?
Yeah, so Facebook Marketplace doesn't have a built-in payment system. They do this primarily just to shield themselves from having to deal with angry people using a payment system.
Yep.
So you'll want to arrange payment directly. So this can be cash, check, or my preferred is to use a PayPal to PayPal transaction. Another fun thing is, just like with Craigslist, police departments will often have their parking lot available, so you can set a rendezvous point to meet with someone at the police station in case you don't want to go over, you know, to that weird part of town at 10 o'clock at night with you know, $200 in cash to pay for something.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So I haven't really, like I said, I haven't really used Marketplace except to browse for things. But another interesting feature of Facebook is, you know, some of those groups that we were talking about earlier are often another option to list something that you may have for sale or to give away. You know, I'm part of there's like a Peterborough free page basically, and you can look through there and post or see what other people are posting or sharing. And that's kind of nice because it is a smaller community of people that have access to that versus anybody on Facebook that could see a Marketplace listing. But always keep in mind the safety aspect of things. And yeah, I don't know. I usually just give things away for free because it's easier. So I don't worry about payment.
Real quickly, I wanted to apologize. I was using older information. So the last time I used Facebook Marketplace, it didn't have any payment. However, they did apparently recently add a checkout, which allows you to link something like your PayPal account. So you can use your PayPal account on Facebook checkout to buy things from Facebook, from like a store on Facebook Marketplace. I don't know if it's available for the person-to-person transactions, but if you have a store on Facebook Marketplace, you can buy stuff from there.
Wow.
So in the chat, we have two questions, one of which is, can you show us again how to get to the Help Center?
Yes.
And do you have a moment to talk about Facebook Live?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. So to get back to the Help Center, we're here on the home landing page, the news feed. And if you go to the menu all the way on the top right with this little down arrow, that's your account menu. And you can click down to help and support, and then click to the Help Center.
Great. Thank
And
you.
that brings you here where you can search, or you can click through all sorts of things that they've got preset as options. And it does open it on the second tab on your in your browser, so you can just click right back to whatever it is that you might need help with. You can toggle back and forth, so that's nice. And then sure, Facebook Live. So we have had some interesting experiences as the as the library on Facebook Live. Some good and some not so good. And we're not totally sure why it doesn't always seem to work as well as we would like. But from what I understand, it's really easy to go live on Facebook. You can do it right here from your home screen. If you have a camera on your computer, click live video, and it brings you, thankfully not right away, to sharing live video, but it'll do all these things like ask to share your microphone and use your camera, which you would need to say allow if you wanted to do that. And then it gives you all sorts of settings and options where you would like to share it to. Like we wouldn't want to post it to the Peter T. Lib page, so we'd want to share it to a page that we manage, which would be the library page. See if this keeps loading. So here we go. It really wants to do this. I really don't want to do this. But so, yeah, so you should be able to just fill all of this out and go for it. And I think if I was using my, allowing it to use my camera, I would show up right down here in this little black square. But I think, you know, they make it pretty easy. And I think on your phone, if we're doing that on your phone, I think it would be even easier and less options. It really, yeah. So this is cool too. You can also share your screen. But that's about as much as I know about Facebook Live. I did. I mean, I did it once for the library when we were watching the building being torn down, and yeah, literally I went on Facebook and said live, and I was recording like 2 seconds later. So
You may not know this, but are there any time limits on Facebook Live like there are on Zoom?
Well, and I know there is on Instagram. I don't think Facebook does have a time limit.
Okay.
From what I've watched, you know, it's one of the interesting things about living in a COVID world is all the musicians that are going live and sharing music. And so I've watched a couple of those streams before, and it seems as though they have to like restart on Instagram after 45 minutes, but Facebook always has it like continuing throughout whatever their performance is. So,
all right.
I hope that answers that question. I'm going to go back home here.
And I would imagine if you went to the help page, you'd be able to get that detailed information.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the other thing I wanted to mention, if you are still just starting out on Facebook and are like don't even have a Facebook page yet, the lynda.com has a really informative Facebook class that you can take, and it's only about an hour, I think, and it really walks you step by step through setting up a page and then how you can interact, not setting a page, but a personal profile, and how you can interact on Facebook all the different ways. So if you're looking for really newbie information. That's a good place to start. I watched it before I did this class. So, yeah.
Great.
Any other
Does anybody-
questions?
There is a question. I'm not sure I understand. Is there another way besides email that you can get a password? That's one question.
Yes.
Like to reset a password or to
Right.
set up an account?
You can use your cell phone number if you have it associated with your account.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for the tutorials, there's a question about repeating the name of the tutorial site. It's lynda.com, and you can access it through our webpage. Go to peterborotownlibrary.org/services/eLibrary, and you'll be able to find it there.
Peterborough Town Library Services, eLibrary. And here's all our amazing programs and available. Where's lynda.com? There it is. You click right here and log in with your library card number. It's amazing. There's so many things on there. I can't even I'll go back to Facebook. Oh, I could, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Amy. That was really helpful, and I hope you changed the needle from anybody who arrived at this hating Facebook to maybe liking it.
I like it. It can be a little bit of a time suck if you're just get lost scrolling to see what everyone else is doing, but it's fun. I like seeing what everybody else is up to, and as long as you know what to pay attention to as far as fake news goes, it's a good place to, if you're following pages that you believe are trusted news sources, it's not a bad place to get your news.
Great.
I don't think.
So I will send the recording as well as Amy's slides. If you have any questions that you think of, feel free to email them to me and I will forward them to Amy.
Sure.
And thank you everyone for participating in our Facebook class.
Thank you all.
You're welcome.